To the NWSL, where another scandal is brewing, this one in San Diego with the Wave. A former front office employee taking to social media on Wednesday alleging a pattern of abusive behavior by club president Jill Ellis, who of course was in charge of the women's national team at the 2015 and 2019 World Cups. Later on Wednesday, two more former employees came forward on social media with similar claims. Jill Ellis responding via this statement: "What we do is all about fostering a culture of respect, inclusivity, and excellence. The false accusations in Wednesday's post are not only personally damaging, but also take away from the incredible work and progress we've achieved together as a team." That was from Jill Ellis. The Wave themselves also releasing a statement. San Diego Wave FC has been made aware of a recent social media post by a former employee that contains inaccurate and defamatory statements about the club. Not only does the post contain a fabricated email, but the claims made therein are categorically false, including the ones directed at our president, Jill Ellis. San Diego Wave FC currently is reviewing this situation, and it intends to pursue all legal avenues available to appropriately address this matter. One final bit of reaction to this, and it comes from Wave captain Alex Morgan. "I'm disappointed to hear about the allegations made by multiple former Wave FC employees today. As players, we've worked hard to build a team that is surrounded by an inclusive, positive, and safe environment. But it's important to me that we are creating that environment for both players and staff throughout the entire organization. Equity in the workplace is something I have and will continue to advocate for. I want to be proud of what we are building at the Wave, but it is clear that there's so much work to be done." Okay, so a lot to unpack there. Allie, your reaction: you of course played for Jill Ellis at both the 2015 and 2019 World Cups.
Yeah, I played for Jill Ellis for about 5 years, and this is disappointing. It's really sad. I understand that we've also had our disagreements, you know, and like I said before, not every coach is going to value you or appreciate you. It doesn't mean you don't still show up and do your job. But here, she's in a position of power. She needs to create a safe environment, not only for the players, but for the staff members as well. And this just doesn't come out of thin air. I believe these employees, and I know a lot of people do. This isn't something that's just made up. And I'm really upset because I thought we were going in a direction in the NWSL where everything seemed to be progressively, you know, positive, and everyone has a good understanding of how to create an environment where you can, you know, get the best out of your players and employees, because it's not just about the players. It's about everyone surrounding the players in the team, which is the medical staff, it's the front office staff, it's the communications team, it's the ownership, it's everyone together, the coaching staff, technical, everybody all together to really win a championship and continue to try to make your club the best in the world. And with this, it just doesn't shed a good light on what we expect out of a club like San Diego, with somebody in that position of her caliber, her knowledge and expertise. And so I'm sad. I'm sad for the employees there, because the employees deserve respect. They deserve a space where they can thrive, and they work hard for the team to be successful. And you want to treat everybody that way. And it's unfortunate now that this is kind of makes me feel like we've taken a small step back.
One of your former teammates on the national team, Sydney Leroux, at one point was asked about Jill Ellis, and I think the direct quote was, "She's not good for your mental health." People who don't know your story, I'll briefly kind of tell it here. You were a staple of the national team for a long time under Jill Ellis. Then you were suddenly not a part of the program in the lead up to the 2019 World Cup. Then just before that World Cup, you're kind of called back in. What happened, as much as you can tell us, in that time, and is any of what you're hearing and seeing now come out of the San Diego Wave situation make you think back to that time in your career?
Yeah, I could be honest, it's a bit triggering, because I think a lot of us at some point in the squad, you know, had tough moments as players. Not every moment is going to be great. Whether you're dealing with a coach or you're dealing with, you know, your coworkers or staff members, you just try to show up and do your job and be respectful, and win championships. That's why you're there. But it does trigger and bring back a little bit of trauma, because in that time, you know, I didn't really have a good understanding of why I was left off the roster all of a sudden after a World Cup performance in 2015, and where I played almost every minute. I think 9 minutes I didn't play. And then going into an Olympics where I was then a substitute, and we kind of adjusted the whole lineup. So there were some, it was a confusion, and it was a really tough moment. And so I tried not to project that onto the team. But in those moments when you don't have an understanding of why you're no longer in the position that you were in, and without any, chat or meeting, or any reason really. Because I always look too for criticism on how to be better. If I'm not performing well, or to the ability that you expect from me, then I would assume that you would tell me what you need from me. And
did you
how
not get that from Jill Ellison that time?
No, not that I remember at all. So I would go out and I would talk to other coaches who I valued their opinion, and I said, what do you think I need to work on in order to get back into the squad, to get back at this level? Because I know that I deserve to be there. So something, maybe not football related, was causing that, which I really struggled with over the years. And I know some of my other teammates possibly had the same, where the communication wasn't maybe there.
I hate to ask like a stupid question, but you guys won 2 World Cups under her. How, given what you're telling us and what seems to be happening in San Diego?
I think we spoke about this too with Greg Berhalter, where the players don't necessarily just show up and perform for your coach. Like, you work so hard for yourself and for your team to be at that level that you're at and to win championships because you want to win it and you want to show up and be a part of that. So you try to do everything in your power to get to that point, to make it difficult for them to ignore you, just so you can win and do everything that you've dreamt of doing when you were young. And so just because she didn't value or appreciate all of us, maybe at different times, or any coach to that matter, you do it because you want to be there, and you show up and play because you want to win. And so I think that's where it came from. Most times it was because of us.
We covered the NWSL Herc on this show through the scandals of 2021. That seems like a million years ago, with all the progress that has happened, up until literally yesterday, today, with these announcements. Doesn't it feel kind of like a major step back at a time of real progress for the league?
It does. It really does. Portland Thorns, Orlando Pride, Washington Spirit, Houston Dash, now you have San Diego Wave. Instead of telling the incredible stories of these women and how far the league has come, franchises being sold, record numbers.
Yeah.
Angel City valued the biggest team in the world, the most,
Talk of a $250 million sale there, yeah.
Insane moment in women's sports, not just football in this country, women's sports. And we go back to this. It's sad. It really is. Opened up a brand new stadium in Kansas City. We were there. Beautiful. My father of a 6-year-old little girl who plays soccer, who one day hopefully wants to continue and maybe be there. And you're thinking, this is what these women have to deal with? When you should be celebrating the league, these women, it's incredibly unfortunate.
Yeah, big disappointment. Okay. So.
Yeah, it is, but I would still hit the pause button a little bit, because I'm an innocent until proven guilty person.
Fair enough.
And let's find out. Maybe I'm cynical, just in the fact that things are said sometimes that are said with an initiative, with a reason, and I will take everybody, by all means. If you feel wronged, do it the right way. Maybe don't do it on social media. Maybe you didn't have any other options. Maybe you tried and it didn't work out. But let's find out first. Let's let everybody figure out where everything falls before we start.
The
looking.
club kind of took that away.
What did?
San Diego Wave, that statement kind of took that away.
I think the statements here are pretty damning, because they actually feel like proof of what's being described by the former employees. That there's a toxicity, not necessarily in Jill Ellis's response, although there's some certain words in there that were very intentional. The statement from the club, that's a huge letdown. I'm sorry. We've worked with San Diego Wave FC a lot on a lot of different things, and I know that there are some good people at this club, but that statement was ugly. It was ugly.
You know what? Build from that a little bit. What do you find so ugly?
Well, I think it's like, hey, we're basically like, they cannot have really investigated these allegations, right? Because they only just have come to life.
Correct.
So they're basically,
Well,
they're immediately poo-pooing them.
You're saying
they're
they're
immediately
true,
dismissing
and they've
them.
just come to life
No,
without
I'm
finding
not
any
saying
proof.
they're true.
Well, but okay. then-
But they're dismissing them and saying that we're going to pursue legal action, as opposed to what I think would be, we're going to investigate
Yes.
this and find out what's happening. When you say we're going to pursue legal action, that's a different tone to take with somebody who could be, Casey, and you're right,
Yes.
it still could be,
I'm
could be
right
a
there with
victim.
you. Yes.
And if they are a victim, then I think treating them that way is, it's frankly disgusting.
And that's why,
that's
why I'm a fan from both sides to be able to just say something's going. If something's going on here, let's do our best due diligence to find the facts.
I'd probably be more on your side, Casey, because I know what you're saying. I know what you're getting at. We do have to wait for everything to come out. Man, if it wasn't for that statement, because you
hold on.
can't write that statement in a healthy work environment.
And
It's just-
it doesn't change what we're talking about.
Right.
This is a stain on the eye of NWSL.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
these things going on since 2021.
yeah.
There's been some, there's an interesting culture there for a long time that it's not going to clean itself up overnight. And there's been steps made, and those steps need to continue to be made because it needs to be better.
I
No.
just want to make someone who, like Jill, who has stood for empowering women, equality, fighting on the right side of good, consistently over her career. It's just surprising, that this is coming from employees who she has worked with day to
who are
day,
women, and
who are women.
yes.
And so that is what is disappointing to me, because if you're doing things right and you're creating an environment that is safe and that is acceptable for people to thrive, and that people feel seen and they feel heard, then you wouldn't hear a lot from any of these clubs. You would think that it was ran properly and with respect. And so even having the slightest of allegations is really, really disappointing to me.
All right, well, we'll hope for some more good news out of the NWSL. There is at least a little bit, as we mentioned earlier in the show. We do know where the championship game will be held later this year. It's going to be on November 23rd in Kansas City at KC Current's new CPKC Stadium. Kansas City have sold out every game so far this year at the 11,000 seat capacity venue. That's November 23rd. We got NWSL on ESPN this weekend. Make sure to check it out as the Chicago Red Stars take on the Houston Dash. That one on ESPN as well as ESPN Deportes, so Ali better brush up on her Spanish. Kickoff Saturday, 1 p.m. Eastern
German?
time.
Can she throw
And
some
German,
German
and
in?
yes,
Yeah,
of
throw some
course,
German in there.
absolutely.